Right, come on then. Hit us with the bad point now, GRT. What is your bad point you're going with here?
Okay, this one I've been feeling for a while, but the major final being a BO3 instead of a BO5. So, look, there were a lot of problems with the format. I think seeding, I think the fact that there's so many BO1s instead of BO3s, in particular the Legend stage, but I'm not going to get into that. I just want to focus on the final being a BO3 instead of a BO5. I know there's like a lot of hate towards BO5s and how long they take, but there's honestly merit to them existing. And I know, Thorin, you've gone into this a lot, so I don't want to spend too much time on that point, but still, I mean, they just get overutilized. That's the biggest problem, is they should be exclusively for the highest tier of play. The major, at the very least, I think the final should be a BO5. And we've seen in terms of memorability, just look back at the Pro League final, Vitality versus Liquid was incredible. IM Cologne, FaZe versus Na'Vi. I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see these intense battles of endurance going down. And I mean, I don't know how much you guys watch tennis, but back in between 2008 and 2012, I was really, really into it, you know, during the Federer and Nadal era. And one match actually not involving Federer that really sticks out in my mind was Australian Open 2009, Verdasco versus Nadal. It was a 5-set marathon. I remember staying up almost all night because it was on Australia, obviously, and the time zone differences were crazy. But man, it was just absolutely intense. Sticks out of my mind, and it went all 5 sets. So for me, and I'm not going to remember a 3-set match that much. And there's no way. It's not going to happen. And even you look at the ATP 1000, they used to have BO5s as their final. That was the next level below, you know, the Grand Slams. But now they don't have it anymore. As of 2009, I think it was. But 2008, sorry. And you look, and if you do a you do a Google search, you can find threads or people saying, hey, can you bring back the BO5s? And, you know, I don't want to see a BO3 in the ATP 1000 finals. There's a reason for that. It's because they're more memorable, that they're fantastic, they're emotionally charged. That's when the real magic happens.
By the way, just in case people miss, like the point he was making at the end there is because they removed best of fives as the final at the level below the Grand Slams, the Grand Slam would be equivalent to the major. It made it seem more important that you have it at the major. So your point is the reason you also want the best of, essentially you're actually asking for two things, right? You're asking for the major to be a BO5 final, and let's have less of them in non-major tournaments to make it more special, right?
Precisely, yes. There's no question. I mean, we need to make sure that this feels like something special. It feels like a battle of endurance that you won't really see anywhere else. Maybe at a couple of other higher level tournaments like right below, but just the major in particular, it has to be there.
I wholly agree, because I actually was thinking I didn't go with this for my ugly point or anything, but in some ways I just feel like the way the major is, because of the seeding and because of it not being a BO5, sometimes when I actually just zoom out a little bit, the major feels like any other S-tier tournament, and I think that would be changed with the BO5 Grand Finals. I don't really want to. I would actually. I mean, I don't know where I would take away BO5s. I guess like ESL Pro League. I guess Pro League as it stands right now would probably be the one where I would make it a BO3 Grand Finals, just because that's just kind of what the effort into that whole product feels like to me right now. But I think that for Cologne, like easily Cologne Grand Finals this year is just the best Grand Finals, and we're just not getting anything better than that. I mean, Blast Fall Finals and Global Finals could have the sickest BO3s, but that was just an all-time series. So but like Na'Vi and FaZe Grand Finals, BO5, like it's everything you would have wanted. The seeding, everything kind of worked out, even though some of the playoffs bracket and everything didn't work out as fortunately. Like we had Movistar and Maus in there at the time, which felt weird, and Astralis. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Just to get back to your point, BO5 just feels essential for the major. And at this point, it almost just feels like the only reason we're not doing it is because of tradition's sake, which is just a bad reason to do anything. Like tradition isn't really, like, that's not an argument.
Obvious joke would be something like, well, the problem is it's maps, not rounds, isn't it? But like, we get 5 bullets in an AWP. We can't even have 5 maps in a grand final. What's the logic? I thought you said 5's enough, you know, so it should be enough. No, because the thing is, that's the problem I have with that whole topic, right? It's like, obviously it's a main position I've made for a few years now. So yeah, I agree. I think the major should be a best of 5. And I even think the 2 tournaments this year, Antwerp and Cologne, show it, because the joke is, Cologne felt like you watched the Antwerp final, which was super close, 3 maps, and we're like, would you like to continue? We're like, I would, yeah. Maybe just keep going in map 4. Like, who would say no in that point? Because I've always said it, I did a pretty good job doing like a full spectrum attack of all the classic counters that people do to this one. Probably the worst counter ever, in my opinion. I'm not going to do it from the usual angle I do, which is when people go, they're not satisfying, there's too many that are just easy, but then they still say they last a really long time. It's like, well, which is it? Was it a 3-0 that was shit, or did it last too long? If it lasted too long, it was... So what I would say is this, there's a point right in the middle of that I think people also miss, which is this. It's true, you're going to get more actual finals which are one-sided because of like how big the score is and how one person's going to get closer to 3. You are going to get 3-1s and 3-0s a lot. But what I'll say as an upside is this. You only get 2 majors a year. Here's what's good about having a best-of-5 final. This final here would have shown it, right? So, after the first map in this final, you saw that like pretty much Heroic just broke and they got gradually worse and worse and worse and worse. And so realistically, you got about 1.5 maps worth of play, right? Even if outsiders win 3-0, a whole other map gives so much more time for Heroic to get their shit together, to have a good map. By the way, I'm fine with that. Even if you get 3-0'd, people also miss this. Not every 3-0 is bad. Make it a good series. Like, if you're in 2 of the maps, it's really close, or one's an OT, that could be enough. Like, it's actually an angle I think people really miss when they talk about formats. It's the same reason why Double Elim's really good. You don't have to argue anything else other than you get more good matches as well as bad matches too, but you get good ones. And spoiler, if you think about how your memory works, you just delete all the matches you don't care about. But the really great matches, like Maui's saying, that Cologne final might just be the best Counter-Strike final ever of any tournament ever. Like, it's just the shit, wasn't it? Like, you'll put up with a million whack 3-0s for that. So yeah, for similar reasons, I also think this final here would have been improved. Like, I don't think Heroic would have just choked away 2 whole maps. Like, they'd have gotten it together for 1, or they might have picked up their level. By the way, that's also why I think it really proves the champion better. Because one of the bad things about best of 3, not as much in this meta, I'll admit, because you always get the guns all the time, but especially in the old reset meta, mate, you can speedrun a fucking best of 3 if you have a really bad first map. Like, think about this. Imagine, like, the map is like, I pick fucking nukes, so you get to start CT side. I lose, like, 16-9, but obviously most of that's just me getting beaten because I'm on T side. Then we go to the next map. It's your map pick, but it's like a map that doesn't matter what side you start on, and now you start good. I'm almost lost the series already. Like, I feel like there's barely any play in this final. So I also think people just underestimate that, like, we're all willing to put up with the shit aspects of best of 3s, guys. There's plenty. We have plenty of whack best of 3 games and series that no one cares about. So, like, I know, like, we're all pretty much on the same point on this one, but yeah, basically I agree. I think this is, to me, it's just a slam dunk at this point in time. I don't see that many downsides. That's why we made it not just about the whole circuit, it's just about this one major in it, or the 2 majors in general. Did anyone have a last point on that before we move on?
I think just if it's Cato, Cologne, and the 2 majors, I think you kind of have a quarterly BO5 sort of setup, and I think that's probably all you would want to run, because if you start including both pro league, like 6 BO5s a year just feels excessive. So I think 4 is just the right amount.
Plus, the joke is, you might think to yourself, yeah, but what about all those other tournament organisers that want to run best of 5? Well, first of all, don't worry about that, because we'll let ESL just monopolise the whole industry. So what we'll do is, ESL, as the like dominant hegemon, you like that term, Mouse Nick? As the hegemon of the Counter-Strike global system, they will get the best of 5s, but then obviously their vassal empire of Blast, they just have to do best of 3s to be distinguished from. So problem solved. I think we've solved the whole thing, right, guys? So there you go. There you go. Did you have a final point, JT?
No, not really. I just think we have to make the BO5 feel special on building on Maui.
Yeah, I thought that was a good point to make as well. Like, because I also agree with your angle. If you then, like, because actually people don't know, that was actually also, this is another point I'll throw in there. The other angle that worked about that in tennis specifically was, surprise, surprise, when you take away the best of 5 for the ATP 1000, you get way more upset winners. Like, you'll get a guy who just wins a BO3. The joke was, back when, like, Federer could never beat fucking Djokovic in a final, he won a bunch of fucking ATP 1000 because it's like playing half a match. Like, if you just have a great start, like I said, you can win. Anyone can do it. Whereas to actually beat, like, the great players, just like the great teams in Counter-Strike, get a best of 5, it's like, mate, you better be fucking amazing. Like, you can't trip over and win this shit, right? If we go now to the bad, what is your bad point, Maui Snake?
That Cloud9 botched another tournament possibility here. That
have you changed this one? That wasn't what you told me.
Yeah, I changed. I changed.
Oh, sorry, you did change that. That's right. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. I changed this one. Yeah, this was This was to me and to many a bracket that essentially pitted Navi versus Cloud9, and it felt like they had to collide in the grand finals, and yet we were robbed of that. Not because outsiders, a domestic matchup went the wrong way, but Maus, a team that is playing on their first major playoffs, is defeating them. And just the way that it happened is where I take so much issue with how Cloud9 plays. And because I think that I think many people have conflated what we see in mid rounds between like 3 players of Cloud9 coming together and the actual style that the calling is.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.